The Justin Robert Young podcast is brought to you, as always, by Stickers or DIAF. That is where you can go ahead and get your sticker packs. $5, get you 7 of them, ships them all over the world. All of the art is done by Carter Johnson. They are all on vinyl stickers that can be stuck inside or outside. We're rapidly coming up to the time of the year where you want to buy stuff. I'm just going to let you know we are coming to the end of when this will be the sticker pack. So if you like these stickers, now's the time to get them. Head on over there, stickers or DIAF.com. And by The Contender, the game of presidential debate. We got all sorts of stuff going on over there. Here's the deal. Just go ahead and get on our mailing list. Head on over to thecontender.us and sign up for the mailing list. It's right down there at the bottom. It says, "We need you." You can sign up. Man, it's probably the best way to do it. You're going to want to do that. It's going to be very important that you do because we got a bunch of really, really cool stuff. And the way that we're doing stuff now, we don't have a lot of inventory. We're just doing a lot of limited release stuff. So if you like it, now's the time to get it. Head on over there, thecontender.us, as featured this weekend in the Wall Street Journal. And, of course, by patreon.com/JuRY. Support the show. Thank you. If you like the show, it's a personal show. This is going to be a personal episode. Then go ahead and help us out. That is at patreon.com/JuRY. But enough of talking about how we support the show. What do you say we just do the damn show?
On the day that we met on the internet, I asked her for a photograph. She sent it over to me, said, "I know it's ugly." And I said, "Girl, ugly ain't the half. Look at you. Well, you got blue teeth and you only got 2 teeth, but I kinda like to see you smile." And it appears that over the years you've turned into a big old steaming pile. And she said, "Yeah, I know I ain't no supermodel." I said, "You ain't a hand model, baby, but that's fine, 'cause you're pretty ugly by most people's standards, but you're alright by mine."
Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Robert Young, and this is the Justin Robert Young podcast. It's not just a clever name, folks. I also host it. Welcome to our One Mic Extravaganza, a daily tour through, a weekly tour through my existence and everything that has come around into this community. Big day, man. I got to move this show off Sundays. I don't know what it is. For whatever reason, my schedule just tilts against a Sunday evening podcast because, like, my energy has just been garbage the last few weeks. Now, hopefully the shows have been good. Hopefully the shows have been worth it. But I do know that for me, it is sometimes hard to do. And it is especially hard because I am only a few hours away. Within 24 hours, I'm going to be on a plane from here in San Francisco to London, England. We're doing a Brenter. It's fun. We booked this trip literally as soon as the Brexit happened. We were like, listen, the pound's going to take a poop in its hand, and we want to be there to sniff it. So let's go ahead and check out. This is what I've been doing for the last dollar to pound conversion. See, this is like all I do. This is all I do is I just go to this. I go to these things, convert dollars to pounds. Yeah, look, right here. Okay, how do you... No, I don't want to go to a... Is that an ad? God damn it, Yahoo. This is your problem. Okay, so convert pounds to dollars. Here we go. Amount, $1. U.S. to pounds, 77 cents. Oh, daddy. Oh, daddy. Man, I remember when it was far less than that. It was like 25 cents. It was ridiculous. Pound, man, you used to be pounding it, and now you're just pounding our pound. I'm excited, man. The last time I was in London, have I ever? I don't know if I've told. I think I've told this story. Somebody down in the in the chat room, please go ahead and let me know whether or not I have told this story of 77 pence. Sorry, yeah, 77 pence to the dollar. So I mean that's the closest it's been to parity in a very long time. AKA £1 is $1.29. So we're really just like, we're not that bad. I mean, basically, it's just going to be like living in San Francisco. It's going to be fun. Last time I was in London, I was there visiting friends that were studying abroad. This is during my collegiate years. I was very stunned that a Guinness extra cold cost $12. I was not thrilled with that, and it was it was a fun trip. I don't know. Have I told this story? Let me know if I've told the international asshole story on this show. I can do it. It's one of those drunk stories. I mean, basically, the long and the short of it is that I went out, bunch of friends, to this blues club. Right? I don't remember where in London it was, but my buddy was staying. Is it the Edgington or Edgware, something like that? I think for some reason Edge is coming into my mind. But he stayed in this area that had a fairly high Muslim population or Arab population. I don't know about Muslim. I guess probably Muslim. And he used to always go to this pizza place. And, listen, I'm not going to say that it's right or it was appropriate or whatever. But for whatever reason, he would always go to this pizza place and he would call it terrorist pizza. Not just because the guy who ran it was Muslim and Arab, but because he would always ask him very pointed political questions. He would always like have all these questions about like what he thought about the government and what he thought about foreign interventionist policy. Now that doesn't necessarily make that man a terrorist. It means that he was talking to an American and he got along with him. And my buddy who was there, he got along with the dude really fine. Famously, for whatever reason, he called it terrorist pizza. And then, like a year and a half later, one of the tube station that was right next to him wound up being part of a bombing plot. So, like, I mean, whatever. Like, I'm not here to say this is a thing or not. It was just something that came to my mind. Anyway, so we're there visiting my buddy. He's studying abroad. We go to this blues club. Now, here's what happens. Is I am young and I'm not going to pretend like I'm a great drinker now. Okay. Like, I have a propensity to overdrink at a moment's notice. And that was certainly more of a problem when I was a kid than when I was a grizzled, haggard adult as I am today. So, number one, I had a propensity to overdrink. Number two, for whatever reason, I'm in London. I go to school at the time in Syracuse, New York. But of all the British blues bars in all the world, my ex-girlfriend from high school had to walk in to my bar. I'm in London. She was going to school in Florida. I was going to school in New York. And yet it just so happens that we are in London at the exact same time. And it's not like she randomly walked in there. Like, she was like, oh, you're in London. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in London. Like, oh, we should run into each other. Next thing you know, we're both at the blues bar. Now, like it was a weird conversation. I was in a weird mood. I was already drinking because I was nervous, and the next thing you know, I just get too drunk. I get too drunk, copping to it, too drunk. How drunk is too drunk, Justin? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you how drunk too drunk is. I just start mouthing off to random Brits. Like, first it starts off as just some bar booty chatter. Just a lot of, like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, scuff my sneakers. Right? Initially it just starts out like that. Escalates. Yeah, it escalates. Next thing you know, I'm bragging about how I was born in Texas. Man, there's one thing that British people love about American people, it's a Southern accent. You know, if you're from Iowa, who gives a shit, right? For them, I mean, I care about the fact that you're from Des Moines. It's a lovely city. But for them, it's much like here in America. It's like, you know, they want the bit. They want the accent. They want someone to do the bit. If there's an American there, if somebody walked into you and just said, hi, yeah, I'm from London. I was born and raised in London, and now I live here in America. You'd be like, boo. You'd boo them out of wherever you were talking to them at. It would be terrible. But if they came in and they're like, chim chim charo, it's me, the old Londoner, then like you laugh and yay, hooray. It's the same thing in London or in the UK that I experienced. Everybody wants you to either do a Southern accent or like a like a Valley Girl accent. It's just like what gets over there in London. So for whatever reason, I start doing a Southern accent, talking about how I was born in Texas. And then at some point, my brain, and we're gonna get, this is the main topic, is about how everybody hates me. My brain, I get a little vulnerable between the ears. I start to see demons in the shadows, that people are out to get me. They're not laughing with me. I'm not being a funny guy at a bar. No. They're laughing at me. At which point, things started to turn a little aggressive. And I'm still trying to be funny, right? But I'm trying to say things that I know are going to get a reaction. So I just start saying, hey, if it weren't for my grandfather, y'all be speaking German right now. Now, this is true. My grandfather, despite participating in the Pacific Theater of World War II, was indeed an American paratrooper. And certainly, you know, we can all debate till the cows come home, but America's involvement in World War II certainly seems to be agreed upon an important moment in that war, tilting the balance and stemming the tide of Hitler's onslaught of the UK. Max Trollbot says, never go full WW2. I did. I went full WW2, and I you know. So it's at this point that my friends are like, we got to get this dude the hell out of here. So they corral me, grab me by my arm, get me the hell out. So I leave. Get me down to the tube station, stuff me in to a train, and so there I'm just talking all sorts of noise to the British people on the tube. This is a late night tube. This is them. This is us. You know, in the small hours of the morning. They finally get me out, or sorry, we get to our station. Got to get out. And so they're trying to push me, corral me. But I was not done with England that night. No. I had one more thing to say. I was not being allowed to express myself, so I don't know if they got a First Amendment over there, but I was going to bring it. And so here's what I did. I got my buddy, he's got his arm on my bicep there, right? He's trying to goon hand me out of this tube station. I shake him off. A little swim move, as if I'm trying to, I'm James Harrison trying to get to the quarterback. I do a little spin I turn right back to that open tube door. We had walked out of the tube. I sprint back. I run back. I am using all of my body's energy. I leap into the tube. Now, mind you, freeze frame right here, Wile E. Coyote style. At any moment, those tube doors can close. And I would be by myself in a city that I do not know squat about, going to another tube stop in a world pre-smartphone. So I would have had to navigate the city of London by myself in a state that led me to believe that the best course of action was to scream about how, if it weren't for my grandfather's involvement in World War II, everybody here would be speaking German, and that I was born in Texas and had a Southern accent. That's where my brain was. I would have had to peel off whatever element of survival skills I had to get back to my friend's flat, knowing nothing. And again, you goddamn millennials will just say, oh, it's easy. Just use it on your phone. They didn't exist back then. I'm old. There was no Steve Jobs. It was, just a sparkle in his eyes. He hadn't invented the iPhone yet. We weren't even on Edge, let alone 4G or LTE. Come on now. So what was so important that I had to break away from my friends and jump back into that tube car so I could yell at the one or two people that were trying to peacefully and quietly get back home? No doubt, after working full days to bring whatever sustenance to their family, to secure a living, a peaceful living in an expensive town of London. What did I need to say to them that was so urgent? Fuck you, Brits! That was it. I had to jump in and scream, fuck you, Brits! That was it. It needed to be said, apparently. It needed to be said. I was risking myself getting lost for an evening and having little to no recourse to get back so I could jump in and tell three unsuspecting people who already had to deal with me yelling on a plane the entire time, jump in, double middle finger, fuck you, Brits! I grab me from the train just as the doors are closing, get my dumb ass out of there, put me down to bed. That was it. So we return tomorrow, or rather we begin our journey tomorrow. I think technically we land at 7 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday in London. We're going to be there for 2 weeks. The schedule of this show should not change much. I am going to do a live show in London. If you're interested in coming, then just email me, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Put London in the subject line. I just want to get a little bit closer to the event so I can send out the actual address of where we're going to be. But I do know that it's in the Shoreditch area of London. Again, that is the Shoreditch area of London. I think that's right. That will be next week's episode. And then we'll probably do I'll probably do a pre-recorded thing while I'm out there. That'll serve for the week after that. And then we're back to studio shows. If you are a Politics listener, there will be no regular Politics episodes. So those are going to be 6 episodes that we are not going to have, including one debate. However, I will be, keep sending me emails for that, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. I'm bringing all my gear. So I will probably wind up just doing mailbags periodically while I'm out there so I can keep that feed hot. It's just the regular studio show will not be taking place. All right. We got a show here for you tonight. I'm going to talk about paranoia and a lot of other fun stuff. We'll be right back here on the Justin Robert Young Show. tweeted something this week. Got a little reaction. Said things that my daily schedule. Number 1, do things. Number 2, think of new things to do. Number 3, meticulously catalog the mounting evidence that everybody in my life, no matter how close or distant, secretly hates me. With the little caveat, a little star, that the proportions on that might vary. Some days I'm going to do a lot more, meticulously categorizing the mounting evidence that everybody I know, no matter how close or distant, secretly hates me. Sometimes I do more stuff. And sometimes I think of more stuff to do. Now, that was a little facetious, but it is something that I wanted to talk about because it's been an element of my life that I suspect is probably more common with people than they think, or than I think, and yet it is by definition a very isolating thought. And it's one of those corrosive little elements of my life that I don't know if I've done a great job of being better at. And so, because this show is very often kind of my own sort of free talk therapy, I'm going to walk through it. One of the earliest elements of my life that I remember understanding as some sort of unhealthy mental attitude was when I was a kid, I used to believe that not just everybody was talking about me when I left the room, but rather that I was part, and this is before the Truman Show movie came out, that I was part of a Truman Show-esque situation wherein everybody around me not only was had ill feelings toward me, but they actually meant to do me harm. Everybody. Teachers, classmates, family, everybody. In fact, for whatever reason, and this is probably when I was at my most religious as a child, it had these sort of religious overtones that everybody around me were demons or hellspawn or something. And when I imagined what would happen in a room when I left, there was some theatricality to it. Like the room would turn dramatically red and their true demonic form would return. Now, even as a kid, I kind of knew that this was ridiculous, and yet, as I grew up, it turned out to just be kind of a cartoonish realization of a feeling that never really went away, and in fact has kind of manifested as I've gotten older. And here's the general principle. Through whatever default in my own personality, there is always going to be a point wherein everybody around me, again, no matter how close or distant, is at best putting up with me for some sort of political reasoning. And this is where it gets into the pro level. Now, when I went from like my kiddie fantasies of, everybody's a demon and they're out to get me, to my big boy, my AP version of paranoia, it wasn't just that they don't like me and they are lying about liking me or being my friend when I talk to them, but rather it is their own unhealthy relationship with society that they put up with me when they secretly would like me to just go away. That it is in and of itself the sound of the strain of society that anybody would want anything to do with me. Now, why is this? Well, again, this is something that has evolved. In general, there's just always because you suck, and that's a good general way to look at, to feed these kinds of unhealthy paranoia. It's just, I'm not a good person. I'm not a good human being. I don't bring a lot of worth to things. And then, hopefully, in your life, you experience a little bit of success. You experience a little bit of momentum. You experience a little bit of, financial or emotional happiness and progression. At which point you start to say, well, people are literally just honing in on that, and they would like to have that element for themselves, or they view a friendship with me as some sort of stepping stone. And then there's, of course, every other legitimate element of my own life that could use working. There's the fact that I mentioned before. That's a funny story to talk about, jumping on a train and yelling at British people, but it's off-putting behavior. It's terrible behavior. It's not something that successful people would probably like to surround themselves with. It's not something that healthy people would like to surround themselves with. And sure, yeah, you can say, well, Justin, you were 22 at the time. Sometimes that sort of tomfoolery in your early 20s is not only accepted, but in many ways, culturally and societally, it is encouraged. But that never really stopped me from pinning motivations from other people. Now, I'm going to warn you guys before that this is not necessarily going anywhere. I normally, whenever we talk about stuff, and we got some topics coming up a little bit later in the show, I like to build to some sort of grand point, or at the very least, some kind of takeaway that you can see at the end of it. There will be none of that here, because this is something that in my real life is still very real to me. Probably my newest thing that I do to myself, and I tell myself, is that I make a very bad first impression. And I think this is kind of true. There are times that I've had coworkers make a point to tell me, when I first saw you or heard you talk, I just kind of thought, this is somebody I'm never going to have a relationship with. This is an asshole. This person's a dick. And then, of course, you get to know people, and it turns out you're a real cool cat. I hear this a lot from listeners, from people who are fans usually of like the morning stream or something, but also people who initially listened to Night Attack or NSFW show, that, Brian is a person that is very easy to connect to. Scott Johnson is somebody who's very easy to connect to. Brian Ibbett, easy to connect to. Tom Merritt, easy to connect to. Now, while I might, and again, this is just what goes on in my own head, I might be charismatic, I might be hard to ignore, I don't consider myself to be somebody that is initially easy to connect to. Now, let's also write off the fact that that's a very carefully crafted persona that I've tried to hone. It has been my craft in terms of talking to you fine folks on podcasting, that I've tried to create a very specific kind of personality that broadcasts in the way that I like. It is an homage to so many people that I loved and still love today. And I always used to... All my favorite comedians and entertainers are people that are not easily initially connected to, and yet the reward, if you put in the time and effort, is worth more than if you had just gotten it on minute one. But that element of making sense of life, that doesn't really take up any time when I'm wallowing. I constantly assume that everybody that I've met professionally finds what I do worthless. I constantly believe, and I say constantly and not consistently, because it is often but not omnipresent, that I don't really have a whole lot to offer, and I'm off-putting to boot. and here's the weird duality, is I don't necessarily think that. I believe that other people think that. Oddly enough, I have a very high sense of self-worth. I believe that I am very valuable. I believe that I am talented. It's just that separately, I kind of also hate myself. Now, this is kind of a topic for another day about self-loathing complexes in general, but it is a reoccurring topic on this show, so it bears mentioning that I do think those things simultaneously. I think I'm very proud of myself and what I've done. And my self-loathing complex in me, well, we've come to an agreement over the years. In fact, you might even say that we're a little friendly with each other. I long ago agreed that my self-loathing complex was never going to go away. So the idea of trying to get myself to a certain point emotionally so I could never feel bad about myself was not something that I've been interested in a long time. Rather, I'd rather befriend my self-loathing complex and just say, hey, listen, I know you're going to pick at me until the day I die. Could you just do me a favor and pick at these little elements of my life? Issues of craft, professionalism, my relationships. Let's just keep that constant you're not doing good enough to things that would, I don't know, make me better as a human being. Let's turn that self-loathing into self-improvement. So, the one element of that I've never really been able to shake is just the assumption that nobody really likes me. And I don't know what it is. And I don't, to be honest, really know how to fix it. I do know that part of the reason why I don't talk about it all that much is because I don't want people to say that they like me. Because I would find that to be false. I would find that to be something that, is just triggered by me whinging. And so certainly I've never really talked about it here on this show because the last thing I want with a gigantic community of people that are very empathetic and are brilliant and amazing and beautiful, that initially what they would want to do immediately almost as knee-jerk is just to say, hey, man, I really dig you. And to be honest, there is an element of my head that knows absolutely that anybody who would write that in or would say that, absolutely does. And I certainly don't want the opposite. Like, I don't need tough love for people to be like, hey, F you, a-hole. Unless you're British and you were on that tube oh so many years ago. In that case, you could probably pop in and just say, fuck you, Yank. Again, there is no end to this. There's no big takeaway. There's no big solution. I feel like I just really wanted to kick that out to everybody because I know I'm not alone. I know that paranoia is a very, very basic trait, and I'm sure at some point they're going to cut my head open and they're going to realize that there's just an element of my brain that is just, firing at a level that is hard to control. But in the grand spirit of honesty, in the grand spirit of transparency, I wanted to get that out to everybody. And hopefully, by doing that, you get a little bit for yourself. Or, you can just go on secretly hating me. God, you guys are just so good. I just love you guys. You guys are so amazing. You're so supportive. All right, let's go ahead and let's get to work. Let's get to work, bitch. Anonymous Diamond writes in, don't use my name, but what do you think about workplace crushes? Are they harmless or am I an animal? All right. Workplace crushes. Number one, workplace crushes are inevitable. So you should not feel bad about having a crush on somebody in your workplace. In fact, it is certainly an outsized element of, very busy professional people that they wind up having a crush on and dating and marrying people in their workplace. But I think what our emailer had in mind is more of the scandalous element of workplace crushes, meaning that both sides of each workplace crush has a significant other, and you have to deal with that sexual tension, and you have to do it without getting divorced, like the D man. The D stands for divorce. You should want to have sex with your friends. I'm just going to put that out there. Like, I don't think that that's an unhealthy idea. I've always thought that, like, listen, if you don't want to have sex with at least like 2 or 3 of your friends, you should probably meet more attractive friends. Like, now the line between actually having sex with your friends and not is, of course, just what society is built on. It is restraint, Like, that's important. You should do that in life. You should have restraint. You should make sure that you don't offend or hurt the people that are closest to you. But that ain't got nothing to do with our lizard brain. Our lizard brain's like, man, I get along with Susie at work. Susie's got a donk. If I were a single man in another life, in another world, I'd like to put it on her. Now, it's tricky at times. There's that whole thing in culture where I don't know if I've ever had this, but there's like, oh, she's my work wife, or he's my work husband. And I assume that this is grown out of this very human, understandable urge. When you work with somebody, you spend a lot of time with them. Get to know them a little better. And sometimes you want to illustrate that with an element of what we are going to assume is mock intimacy. But I've always found that a little weird. I'm going to be honest. I find having a crush on your coworker very natural. I find making it a categorical thing very odd. Now, let me say this. In general, I think that we are probably we are more dishonest with ourselves about who we find attractive and how we find them attractive. And I think that this is just a necessity because we build a lot of things around our relationships. We build financial agreements. We build other relationships. We build business contacts. We build our happiness. We build our productivity. We build where we live. And, of course, ultimately, we sometimes make other human beings because of the relationships that we have. And that's all fine and good, right? But at the end of the day, there are these urges, right? And there have been societies, cultural norms, religious elements that have been based on what you do with that. What do you do with that one element of your brain that's like, listen, I love this person that I'm with. I love my life. I love my business. I love my work. I love my job. I'm very, very happy. But I kind of want to put it in Susie right now. Like, and I believe that they can exist separately. If even for just this one fleeting moment, for just this one fleeting second, as a lady, you're just like, man, I love my boyfriend. I love the apartment we share together. I love our dog. But I would like to engulf Steve with my privates. That would be good. And they could maybe, those thoughts can probably both exist. And you get religion that says, you know, some religious elements that are like, you know, this is not good. You need to protect the sanctity of marriage. You got cultural norms that say, hey, look, you cannot do this because to affect your relationship, even with the idea of a thought, is going to make your partner feel bad. And that's bad. You don't want to do that to somebody that cares about you. So we tend to just sort of shove it down into some element of our brain, and that's just kind of it. Now, this is going to be another one of those segments to say I don't have any answers on that larger issue, but I think I do have some guidance on work crushes. Number one, I think, again, there's nothing wrong with it. You got an urge, that's fine. We all get urges. But I'm going to say this. Everybody knows their own limit. Everybody knows how close they can get. Everybody knows where their priorities are. Be honest with yourself, with them. Be honest. Because it is a lack of honesty with knowing yourself that can get you in trouble. It can get you in trouble. Because if you got one of them work crushes, next thing you know, everybody goes out because it's the holiday party. Everybody goes out because it's the quarter went well. And next thing you know, you're on beer 2. Half the group leaves. You're on beer 3. Your friend leaves. Just you and your work crush. Either y'all want to go anywhere. You get on to beer 4. You might be in some trouble, my friend. You might be in a place where you don't want to go. And if that's the case, all I can say is that your only choice is to run as fast as you can. You can email this show, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Again, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com is where you can email this show. Put JuRY in the subject line. Couple great emails about the Those Were the Days song last week. John Benfield writes, I really enjoyed your Those Were the Days episode from last week. I'm glad you risked a takedown to play the song for us. It's a gorgeous track. It has a hauntingly familiar melody. Since you liked it enough to play it and mentioned that you like sad songs that feel more emotionally honest, I should recommend a particular band that often has a very similar sound. The World/Inferno Friendship Society is a cabaret circus punk band from Brooklyn, and while most of their songs are blood-pumping, high-intensity punk rock, the slow songs are gorgeous. The two in particular that remind me of Those Were the Days are 13 Years Without Peter King and a memorial due to one of their long-departed friends. I believe this here is 13 Years Without Peter King. I'm going to play a little bit for you guys right now. Oh, hold on.
It's only me when you were looking, not me to anyone else. 13 years and a couple of days. So that cab blew that light and dragged you away from us. And I still wonder what you might think, what you might say. It's been 13 years and a couple of days.
And now it's far too late to go. No one ever saw the show.
John continues. Bonus, my wife and I met at a World Inferno show 9 years ago and fell in love when I tried to teach her how to dance the waltz in the middle of a mosh pit. Heart Attack 64, a.k.a. the Heart Attack Waltz, was the song that played that night and again when we danced to it at our wedding this spring. Thank you so much for sending me that, John. I really do appreciate it. You know, and that would be the best email about that stuff if there did not live in the treasured city or country of Estonia where T2T2 dwells. Chet Page himself. He wrote in, JuRY, during the last show you played a clip of Those Were the Days. Right from the first chord, I was questioning myself if it's another song that an Estonian artist decided to steal for himself, foreshadowing. But as you mentioned, it's a Soviet song, and I realized that it was just imported from the USSR. T2T2 continues. Now, the reason why I came to begin questioning whether it was a Western song is because Estonia is what you consider a second world country, as much as we're trying to get labeled Nordic, not yet. Which means that during the Cold War, all the songs were either imported from the USSR and got lyrics in the local language, or they were songs smuggled in from the Western Hemisphere, either by sneaker netting or on the northern coast pointing receivers toward the other side of the Gulf and trying to catch Finnish TV and radio, and then making an Estonian version to avoid the censors. By the way, here is the version of Those Were the Days here.
Now it's far too late to go. Möödas on mul nüüd need kauged ajad, unelmas veel ainult sinna saan. Oi aegu ammuseid, oi aegu ammuseid, kui saaksin.
That is Mati Nude, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce what the words were. So here's the deal. Anyway, a bunch of songs I've known in Estonian first and have completely shattered my world as I've roamed the internet, seeing things that happened before 200X. So he just gave me, T2T2 just gave me a like master list of all these songs that were taken by Estonian artists and re-recorded with Estonian lyrics and kind of played off as their own work. It's just amazing. I'm going to play some of my favorites that are here, but I mean I'm just gonna read these. Jefferson's "Baby Take Me in Your Arms," Anita Bryant's "Paper Rose," Johnny Cash's "Man in Black." Let's go ahead and find the Johnny Cash's "Man in Black." That is Joel Steinfeld ripping off Johnny Cash. Here we go. Bonnie Tyler's "It's a Heartache" was translated into Estonian with their song called "Heartaches" in the translation. Waylon Jennings' "Good-Hearted Woman" got its own country man to cover it called "Inner Beauty." Sweet's "Funk It Up" became a song about a wall blocking in the way called "Walls in Front." The Ramones' "I Just Want to Have Something to Do" turned into something that we can't even translate. But here we go. These were some of my favorites. This is Nickelback's "Photographs" translated into Estonian called "Memories." Let's try to skip into the middle here.
majas, kus ma kasvasin. Mälestusid täis on atmosfäär. Vaatan häid, kuid halbu ma ei näe. Ei hooli, teist ei hooli. On hetki, mida võime korrata ja on kordi, milles pöörata.
But here we go. This is the coup de grace. James Brown's Living in America became Welcome to Estonia. Man, they really got all that funk, huh? This is why you can't trust white people.
Eile nägin veel Eestimaad, Tondiraba ja Põlisland. Rahvariiet, Ugri verd, laulupidu, Läänemerd. Homme on siin Estonia, remont on tehtud, või ukse avada. Külla tulge kõik, tahan näidata, kui kaunis on mu maa.
Almost sounds like oh wait. Here we go. Welcome to Estonia. Hold on. Oh, we almost missed it. Here we go.
Welcome to Estonia. Ja viimane. Welcome to Estonia.
Welcome to Estonia. Love it. And then he just gave me another billion covers. I mean, T2T2. Mwah, mwah, mwah. He is the best. Everybody, all praise and hosannas to T2T2. He even literally signed his email, mic drop, which he needs to. He needs to drop all the mics. Seriously. How can you handle mics when you are indeed that hot? And now to something completely different. A faithful listener writes in, don't give my name, but you seem like the type of person to know this. Not saying you'd be in on it, but how do you find out if there are swingers at Nerdtacular anonymously? My wife and myself have never done this before, but Nerdtacular seems like the place to try it. Love the podcast and hope this is random enough for you. Okay. I am willing to be some part of this. I mean, not the swinging, but your identification of each other. Here's how it's going to go down. The person who emailed me, when you listen to this, you just go ahead and send me an email that I can blast out, right? And then at that point, you work your freaky deaky flesh mongering to yourself, all right? That's it. I'm willing to give out an email, so anybody who's listening to this and wants to bang each other at Nerdtacular are more than willing to do it. That's fine. But I'm not sorting this out personally. I'm not accepting headshots. Sam from Michigan writes in, picture this. I'm in a Uber in Cincinnati after leaving the 16-bit bar. The Uber driver says, y'all heard about Harambe? And I just smiled. Well, that is a good moment. Scott Napier writes in, I had a mentor in the Army that used several variations of you motivate me in place of the I'm proud of you, I'm impressed with you conundrum. For instance, if I did something that was both good and unexpected, I might hear you motivate me to do things like you, or I'm motivated by your outstanding effort. There are lots of ways to play with that, but some of those could be taken as a bit of rehearsal. And on another hand, there is somebody else who was very angry about our conversation, and that is Dustin Dean. This is the proud versus impressed conversation from a few weeks ago. I don't waffle up. How are we still talking about this? If some dumbass wants to take the word I use to try to compliment them and use it to change their internal emotions to anger or frustration or whatever, it's a dumb feeling, then that's their choice. That poops on them. If the thinking goes to be offended instead of accepting that I'm trying to be nice, then you're a prick, a gigantic, poopy prick. And I don't need your offended at every turn bull poop in my life. What is wrong with people, Justin Robert Young? Also, I'm totally proud of you. Well, thank you, Dustin. And listen, there's part of me that echoes where you're coming from. Although I do feel like we could probably dial up the empathy just a little bit. Like, not a lot. Not change your life. Just 2 degrees. 2 degrees of empathy. Can we do 2 degrees? 2 degrees more? Thank you. JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com is where you are going to email us. And please remember to put jury in the subject line. Of course, you can email me. Tweet me at Justin R. Young. Justin R. Young on Instagram. Justin R. Young on Snapchat. We are going to be busy on that for the next 2 weeks as I am in London. Man, I'm excited. That's it. I'm done with my podcast until we go to London. Of course, join the conversation at diamondclub.reddit.com. If you're on Snapchat, you're listening to this, just give me your favorite British word, your favorite British slang. Just yell it into your Snapchat at Justin R. Young. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to pause this. Thank you. This is a very personal show for me. Every once in a while, I get to kind of unload something that is on my mind. I'm already kind of, I feel indebted to you guys for just listening to that. So all jokes aside, please know how much I care about you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And remember that if you find yourself at the end of your rope, remember that your old pal Justin Robert Young told you to please go. I will see you guys later.
Do you like how your hair gets cut? Do you like when your friends fuck up? Don't you think you have had enough?
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.